Alright, well then ladies and gentlemen, just recently the version 3.3 Pure Fiction has released. Now I didn't do it the day it came out. I kind of struggled a bit, I had a Caster's and Mighty Clear I tried doing, but it didn't work out too well. But I've had some time to think. Unfortunately we weren't able to pick up a Cypher, which could have helped us. But instead, I have come up with a new plan, which hopefully will work, and that's on the first off, we're going for a mini Herta team. Now, whenever I go to the clearance lineup, it's always big Herta, big Herta, big Herta. As you can see, big Herta, big Herta, big Herta, big Herta, big Herta. It's only big Herta, but of course I don't have her, so you know what? Let's just try to see if mini Herta will work instead. Now, we're going to be pairing her up with a Sunday Robin, as well as just a luocha for some comfortable sustain, and we will also be taking the speed buff whenever we are in the enhanced state. And then for our second half team, we are going for Cassius, pairing her up with our brand new Hyacine, as well as, of course, Tribbie and RMC. And then we'll also be taking the damage dealt buff, which I think will give us more value than the speed buff. But with that being said, let's just hop right into it. Alright, and here we are on the first half with our mini Herta team. Like I said, I did try this before with Cassius on the first half, so because I thought you could just brute force it and then Mighty on the second half. But unfortunately, that didn't go quite to plan, so instead we have had to cook this up. And hopefully it goes well, because of course I did not pick up Herta on this account. I do have her on my second account, but even when I tried the Pure Fiction on my second account, I still couldn't pull it off. But to be fair, I'm not that surprised, because this is the highest HP pool we have ever seen in Pure Fiction, and I'm not quite sure that the buffs are that insane this time around. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just not paying enough attention, but I definitely do think that they could have been a bit more generous with the buffs. I like how the buffs are fairly universal, which is a step in the right direction, other than them being, very hyper-specific to one certain character. But at the same time, the fact that none of them are that strong kind of defeats that purpose. So, I feel like we're so close to getting slightly better endgame design in HSR, which isn't so restrictive. I do feel like there have been some steps in the right direction, but at the same time, there is still some HP inflation, like when Kokolia was in Apex Shadow, and she just has, like, an insane amount more HP than she used to have, and again, we didn't get that many insanely stronger characters which are good at dealing with Kokolia. But anyway, that's enough yap. We are here to focus on Pure Friction and not talk about game issues right here. We are just going to launch our luocha's ultimate here so that we can get a bit of extra healing as well. He also goes into a skill, which is very nice, and we get a big follow-up attack there from our Herta. We do actually get the resound damage there as well, which is nice. Now, if we pop this ultimate on Herta, I believe this should probably wipe out the wave. Yes, it does, although I'm pretty sure when Herta wipes out the wave, her follow-up attack doesn't carry over into the next. Okay, yep, unfortunately I was right there, but that's fine. We do still have another skill we can use here for a nice 185k into a 206k follow-up attack. And now if we can advance her forward one more time and do something similar as well. Unfortunately, we're just shy on energy, but that's fine. We're going to pop our Robin ultimate now and go on to our Herta once again, although unfortunately she hasn't gone quite yet. But yeah, like I said, unfortunately with this Pure Fiction also means that we broke our streak of clearing every single endgame mode on that account, on the abandoned F2P account. So unfortunately that streak didn't last too long. I knew it wouldn't, because I did basically abandon it for a year and a half, so, and many characters aren't built, so I think it suffered from not having Tribbie, as well as other stuff, like, just some of our supports not being the best built, as well as our Nexa not being the best built. But, yeah, that's unfortunate. But hopefully when pure Memory of Chaos comes around, we'll be able to clear another endgame mode on that. Maybe we can do a Memory of Chaos streak. But anyway, here, we're doing decently already when we're up against this boss. Of course, we should be doing even more damage now that we have Robin's buff as well. 108k there on the skill. I think our ultimate should do a nice bit of chunk as well. Yep, 333k, and we also get the Surging Grid Phase, which will give us the speed increase, so hopefully we will go more often. We can also alter on Sunday's turn, which will give us even better uptime on his ultimate as well. And now let's see, very nice, casual 223k into 180k, so about 400k there in that cycle. Hopefully our Herta gets hit so that she can pop off her ult, perfect, and she does it right before Robin's ult ends as well. I don't think we're actually going to get that big of a follow-up attack. Yeah, because most of them died from that ultimate and they were already below 50% HP. I'm actually realizing we're not doing as much damage as I thought we would, purely because there are a lot of more enemies that I thought were weak to wind, but actually aren't. Like, there's a lot of these guys weak to wind, lightning, and fire, which I thought there would have been less, so I thought there'd be more of the guys on the left, which is unfortunate, which actually means Tribbie maybe would be better here than Robin. Maybe if we use Tribbie on this half and then something like a Ruan Mei or a Jiaocho on the second half, maybe we could get a better clear. But I mean, Robin's still incredibly strong, so I think we should be fine if I'm being entirely honest. You know, we are still hoping that the second half will carry us. That's kind of why we're here. You know, we're not expecting mini Herta, you know, a version 1 4-star to clear with, I don't know, 30k in probably the hardest pure fiction we've seen so far, because I've seen a lot of people talking right now about how they've been struggling to clear this pure fiction. Like I said, I really don't blame them. But yeah, anyway, we can pop our luocha here as well to get his healing field up, and then we also get to use his skill, of course, sorry, his basic attack for another skill point, which will be enough for our Herta to continue on with her rotation. Like so, and then also the Surgeon Grit giving us a skill point is actually very handy here as well, now that I think about it. Anyway, ooh, 562k there on the ultimate. We take those. We have hit 20k, which is the absolute minimum I wanted. I'm aiming for about 25k here on Herta. That would be nice. Although there are literally... Okay, there's one wind weak enemy right now. So yeah, I think it keeps spawning in one, which is unfortunate. If we had maybe two, we could be a bit better. But the res pen right now, like the 20% reduction in our damage is unfortunate right now. Although maybe that can take him out. Okay, still 9% left on the main boss, and we are going into the final cycle now, which is not ideal. We might not make the 25k. I'm hoping we do. It's gonna be definitely very close here. You know, big Herta would make this much easier. Okay, perfect. 653k there on the follow-up attack. That's very nice. Now let's just squeeze out as much damage as we can. Since Argenti's pillars, once again, HP inflation and pure fiction, but the summons in the Found Chamber have like a ton of HP, which makes someone like Herta much worse because she can't trigger her follow-up attack as much. Okay, Sunday is stuck in the Never realm of, I think he's like maybe 2 AV, too slow to go again, so unfortunately we couldn't squeeze out quite as much damage. And I mean, we didn't exactly hit 25k, but we got just over 24k, which hopefully will be enough. We need to hit 36k on our casters here, which I'm hoping is doable. I would like to believe it is. I mean, Tribbie and Hyacine will also be contributing a decent amount of damage here, actually, which is why I actually really like this team so much, because, you know, Hyacine, of course, buffs up Tribbie, Castress, and herself. RMC also buffs all of them because she does give the crit damage buff. Of course, she doesn't give the true damage to the entirety of the team, but you know, she still does her job. I'm actually wondering if maybe Cypher would be better here instead of RMC if you have her. I'm not quite sure. Maybe she'd buff up the team DPS a bit more, although Castress's personal DPS might be a bit lower, although even then, I'm not that sure. But I'd say the team DPS would probably be a bit higher. I think that would make sense if you ask me. But yeah, unfortunately we don't have a Cypher on discount. I did 15 pulls on the Cypher banner. We were at 20 pity. I did a 10 pull and then 5 single pulls. Unfortunately, we got nothing. I would have even taken a early 5-star, which I was hoping would have been a blade, because I really want to get an E1 blade before Blade's buffs come out. But unfortunately, that did not happen yet. Anyway, we do have Cash's Dragon here ready to go, and honestly, I think he's going to take out this wave before we can even explode him, if I'm being entirely honest. I also wonder whether I keep getting the feeling that Sunday might be better than RMC in pure fiction, but honestly, I feel like Sunday requires you to use your brain a bit more, which right now I don't feel like doing too much. And also, to be fair, this time we did need him on the first half, and you know, a lot of people were mad about how Sunday is, you know, isn't best in slot for casters. But now that I think about it, there are literally so many units that like Sunday. I still think Sunday is a best in slot. I do think Sunday is about on par with RMC. RMC is just easier to play, but I feel like Sunday might actually be slightly better, at least in my experience using him. But yeah, the fact that she isn't reliant on Sunday, I actually think is a great thing in favor of casters, because, geez, there's just so many units which absolutely love Sunday. I mean, my Mighty is pretty glued to my Sunday, because if I don't have them together, he doesn't feel that great to play, especially at E0S0. But yeah, anyway, Eco goes here again, so we can pop another Hyacine ultimate, and we're actually doing very quick work here of the boss, which I will definitely take. Okay, we do for another Tribbie attack and 224k and Tribbie 297k on Hyacine. Sorry, on Eco rather, technically. I don't want to steal his time in the sunlight. And then we can also pop off a Neverwing here, which will probably hit for just over 1 million. Can Tribbie clear the wave? No. Okay, unfortunately those guys are already on low HP. It would have been nice if she could have taken out that entire wave there, so that we could have done more damage to new enemies, but it's fine. And there we go, only 2% left on the dragon. And is this still the first cycle? Did we basically take out 2 waves in the first cycle? I think we did, which honestly is pretty damn impressive. Anyway, if we tribbie ult, I think this will take them out. Okay, never mind, it did nearly 300k. But if we pop our Ika's heal here, or Ika's follow attack, then we go 405k. Very, very quick work, very nice. And now we basically have 3 cycles to do as much damage to the True Sting as we can, so that we can get a minimum of 60k. Maybe we can even 40k this, I'm not 100% certain, we'll have to see. I was hoping that Ika would be able to go off there, but never mind. We have to use our Castoris' skill instead. But it feels so good to have Hyacine, because not only does she provide good AoE damage, she's also, and of course she's just a nice buffer as well. Unfortunately, we don't have her on a relic set, which would make her even better, because she could buff Tribbie, Castoris, and her own damage even more, which would be absolutely insane right now. But what can we do? We're nearly at 50k and we have 2 cycles remaining, so I'm hoping we can actually hit 60k here. I was gonna glaze Hyacine a bit more. Oh yeah, I was also gonna say Gallagher's healing honestly isn't that great in Pure Fiction, because oftentimes the Besotted will only be on 1 enemy, sometimes even none. Sometimes in the first wave it's normally on no enemies, and then on the first and other wave then it's normally only 1 enemy, which does make his healing output a bit weaker in my opinion, or is it not even in my opinion, in my experience. So I normally prefer Luocha in Pure Fiction, but now that we have Hyacine, we have a best in slot in healer in all endgame modes, which is of course very fun. Anyway, our Neverwing explodes. Also, our Neverwing is doing less damage than he normally would, because unfortunately I did have to take Castoris off of Himiko's Light Gun, which I normally use on her. Instead, she's on Secret Vow because I had to give it to Mini Herta. Anyway, we go for another skill. We're at 52k. We're slowly, okay, no, we're not quite moving into the final cycle yet. We still have a bit left here. We can probably get off at least 1 more Neverwing if yeah, we definitely will. Should be off of this Hyacine skill here. Oh, okay, yeah, definitely is. Maybe if we do this, actually no, that won't help us that much either way, but it's fine. Okay, now we just pop our heal and pop our ult on Castoris again. And this should get us to, I want to say 55 points at least, or 55,000 points at least, which is edging us ever closer to that 60k, which did elude me, unfortunately. Let's see. Okay, yeah, 50,200, very nice. We can actually advance forward our Castoris here as well, which is nice. You know what, let's just pop the Tribbie ultimate as well, so that we can get even more turns in, hopefully. That's the great thing about Dance. I find DDD to be so useful in Pure Fiction. Of course, it's useful in Memory of Chaos as well, but I find Pure Fiction to be where it works best. You know, just my opinion, but, you know. Okay, we're just 1% off of our Castoris' ultimate. It would be a shame here. Okay, there we go. Perfect. We get hit. Very nice. 56k. We should be able to pop 1 more Neverwing after this. Let's see, how much do we do after this Neverwing? I want to say about 58k, hopefully. Let's see. Another explosion and 1 more of you guys. Okay, yeah, we still hit 58k. Very, very useful. We should get a turn advance here soon. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to take out this guy. That should help us get a bit more of a score in. We should actually get an RMC advance here as well, and we can also refresh the Tribbie ultimate so that we can action forward some of our guys as well. We will definitely get 1 more Neverwing off, like I said, and we're nearly at 59k, which is actually pretty useful. If we pop a Neverwing here, and then if we go for Tribbie's ultimate as well, we should have all of our buffs up. And then the question is, will Mem go before Neverwing? Because then we could get an enhanced skill of Cassius, which would do a lot of damage. And then also Neverwing. Okay, never mind, we unfortunately will not be getting the enhanced skill. So that's unfortunate, but what can we do? But either way, as you can see, we did manage to get the 60k, which I'm so glad about, because honestly I thought I had no chance in this Pure Fiction. Now I don't really think we're going to be able to get another Neverwing off. I mean, we do actually have a skill and ult here on Hyacine, I believe. Ooh, actually, I think if we skilled there on RMC, we could have actually gotten it. Let's see, because I think that would have given us about 10% as well. Yeah, I think so, but you know what, it's fine. We already got our 60k. We're not gonna clear with like 70k, 80k, whatever. It makes no difference to us, of course, so I will just take the 60k. Yeah, 4% missing. Wait, we just got at the end there, I swear. But okay, that's unfortunate. We do end up getting a score of 62k, which I definitely will take, because this pure fiction was an absolute pain in the butt. So, you know, it took me slightly longer to clear it than I would have liked. But hey, at least we got there in the end. And you guys know that if you have a mini Herta and strong enough supports, you can use them as well. And hopefully you have a Castus which can carry on the second half. If not, then I hope you have a big Herta, because otherwise, good luck. So yeah, with that being said, let's move on to the character builds as well as the outro. Well then, as you can see, we were just about able to clear thanks to our mini Herta as well as Castress. Now, of course, Castress did carry quite a bit, but I would hope so from a team which is pretty expensive. But, you know, nearly getting 25k for a 4-star in version 3.3, which released in version 1.0. You know, I will take that. Then when it comes to the character builds, starting off with our Herta, just so you guys can see what we're working with. It's 70 crit rate, 114 crit damage with 139 speed, as well as the S1 of Himiko's Light Cone. Traces nearly fully maxed out, just missing a bit from the ultimate as well as the skill, which probably could have helped out a bit, but we still take it. And then of course we have double crit here, double crit as well as crit rate with speed boots, so that we can hit the speed threshold for Sunday. Speed boots with crit rate, because we want to get about 100 crit rate, and then we'll get as much crit damage as we can, and then double crit on the sphere, as well as speed and crit damage here. And then thanks to all of these sets, we get about 100 crit rate to about 300 crit damage, when you also include Sunday's buffs as well as Robin's buffs, because they both give you some crit damage. And then Eidolon's, she is of course E6. And then when it comes to our Sunday, he's 134 speed, 247 crit damage, with a 124 ERR, sorry, 134, because we do have Bronya's Light Cone, which gives us an extra 10%. Traces maxed out other than the basic. For the relics, you know, just picking up crit damage, speed and crit damage and speed, speed and crit damage, as well as speed and crit damage again on the Penacony set, which helps our Mighty, but not our Herta, unfortunately. And then Eidolon's, he is also the E0, of course. Then when it comes to our Robin, all the way over here, 3,850 attack, so not quite 4k, 122 speed, so we do hit over 121. Other than that, 124 ERR, and then she is also on the S5 event Light Cone, which everyone can now get from the Sim Into the Universe, of course. Traces maxed out other than the basic and this 1 HP trace. For the relics, we were on 2-piece attack as well as 2-piece speed, because that allows us to run attack boots instead, so that we can get as close to 4k as we can. And then this is how our pieces here are looking. And then Eidolon's as well, she is E0. And then when it comes to our luocha, who is of course our sustain, you know, and our skill point generator as well, quite significantly. 162 speed, so that you can generate as many skill points as possible. You know, healing bonus, stuff like that. S3 of the effect res Light Cone, so it does also have some effect res. Level 10 on the talent, and then 9 on the skill. I'd say that's what matters most. Relics, 2-piece speed, and then 2-piece outgoing healing bonus as well. Of course, getting healing bonus main stat, as well as some attack percentage and ERR, so that we can get our healing filled up as much as we can. And E0. And then when it comes to our Castress team, basically 7.4k base HP on Castress. Of course, Hyacine will increase that. 87 speed, so we do get the Poet set. 58 crit rate, which if you include the Flay 2 from the Poet set plus 10 for RMC, that's exactly 100%. And then in battle, we'll get about 250 crit damage thanks to RMC as well as the Bone set. Normally, I would have run Himiko's Light Cone, because that does have a higher base HP than Secret Vow. This is 1058, whereas this is 1164. But since we had to use that for our mini Herta instead, we got Secret Vow on here, because if you don't know about her Light Cones, basically Signature Light Cone number 1, then Mighty Light Cone or the Battle Pass Light Cone, and then any 1270 Light Cone base HP, and then any 1164 base HP, and then either 1058 or Victory in a Blink, but that's R5 Victory in a Blink, so I just recommend going for a 1058 one, because there are plenty of abundance Light Cones, as well as some other sets which have 1058, such as Secret Vow, as well as Traces, max out, and then the basic attack, and then Relics, double crit, crit damage, but we'd overcap there anyway, crit damage, crit rate, double crit rate as well as double crit. And then Eidolon's once again E0 when it comes to our RMC, 166 speed, 233 crit damage, 124 ERR as well, Victory in a Blink, R4. Traces, we do have the Memo Sprites maxed out. Other than that, we do just have a few bits and bobs missing. Relics as well, 2-piece speed, so that we can be as fast as possible basically. And then again, Penacony set won't help us out here that much. Eidolon's as well, E6 of course. And then for our Hyacine, 201 speed as well as 81 crit damage would be nice to have a bit more. ERR 119, because we do have run on ER rope. S5 of the Remembrance Light Cone from the Herta store. Traces maxed out other than the basic and a bit of effect res. 2-piece speed, because unfortunately I don't have a good enough build yet for the what's it called, the Warrior Goddess set, so that will have to wait for the time being. Although we do have the Giant Tree set luckily here. So yeah, hopefully we can get that in the future. So, you know, we could definitely get some improvements to our score if we got a bit luckier, if we had a few more better relics on the Goddess Warrior set for our Hyacine and stuff like that. And then finally, our Tribbie over here. 88 speed, so once again does get the power set, 164 crit damage, which will go up to nearly 200, and then 54 crit rate, which of course will go up to about 86, so about 90 to 200-ish, 200 something-ish crit damage for our tribbie. S5 dance, which is very nice. Trace max out in the basic. Power set, double crit, crit damage, crit rate, as well as energy recharge, of course, and then also E0. So yeah, that's it for our character builds. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you found this helpful, be sure to like and sub. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. See ya.